get him someplace he needs to be. We're going to take this from you. We really have to let's look out next week.
Are we live?
Yes, we're live. Uh-huh.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order at 7:07. We do have a quorum present, despite 2 members being absent. Going down the agenda, starting out with citizen comment period at the library board. I do not see any citizens in the audience, so we'll continue on. Consent items, 1, consideration of possible action to approve the March 9th, 2023 library board meeting minutes. Would you all please take a second to look them over, let us know if there are any requests for amendments. If we're all comfortable with the minutes, is there a motion to approve? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
Hearing a second, all in favor? Opposed? The motion passes. Moving on to new business, item 1, welcome to our newest library board member, Christina Thompson. So the most exciting part of the agenda. Well, glad that you're here.
Glad to be here.
Are there any words you want to say about who you all are, what you're looking forward to? Or...
Christina Thompson. I've been a resident in this house since 2018. Fell in love with Kyle really quickly. And just the library is very important to me personally, and I saw that there was a cause to serve, and here I am.
Glad that you're here. Do feel free to speak up whenever. We're very laid back bunch, so don't feel shy or like we're going to attack you.
Okay.
All of us are welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions or discussion on this item?
Welcome.
Welcome.
And you have a packet this thick.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. This is very helpful already.
More than put it together.
Thank you.
So do you have any suggestions for this?
Okay.
Perfect. So we'll continue on. Item 1, continued business, consideration and possible action to approve library board training resources for new board members. Yes, discuss, Christina. Well, so here's the packet that Morgan was gracious enough to volunteer to put together. Kind of some background. We didn't really have a packet like this before, and we had a lot of new members this year, myself included. Morgan had a great suggestion of let's put together a packet to give some kind of orientation materials. Is there anything else you want to add on the purpose of that?
It was just so that everybody who first started would know where all the resources are on the plan and the things to click, where things come from to get it started.
It's great. I love the, I've only read the first 2 pages, but the history in the front is really nice.
Well, it was actually having the history of the library being done because we really don't have it.
Okay.
So,
This needs to be worked on. And there's also a longer version of this, right? That is the handbook part that has all the resources together.
yes, so there are 2 parts that somebody would get in email. They would get this part that tells them what all the things are. Then the second part, to have it right away, is already combined in one PDF, and in the PDF is all of these other combined PDFs. And then in the bookmarks, it has kind of the table of contents, so that you already have it versus I'm going to every link and then I'm gonna put it down. You can have it in one big book, you can print it out in one big book, or, but it's for updates and for changes, it's always good to know where the links are and how to find the information.
This is very helpful. Thank you. To be able to easily digest all the information because it's a lot of information. Thank you.
This looks amazing, Morgan.
Yeah, it's
There-
awesome.
There was one sentence I saw that might need a little tweak under oath of office, the second sentence. Personal information you want to keep private, complete the request for this public access. I don't know if it needed like a clause in front of it, like if there is personal, I don't know. I don't know if that, I don't know if there's anything that can be added there to add some clarity to that, especially since some people might be really confused about what that even is, or scared, you know, about what personal information is going out.
I was trying to remember from the last conversation, there really isn't a link, because I spoke with the secretary Jennifer, and I asked her if there was a link somewhere on the city website where they could go to find this form, and she said no, that we send it to them for new members, and I thought, okay, how do I put this form? So she sent me the form, and I walked into the last page.
Okay.
So I was trying to make reference to it, and it was just, I wasn't getting the words right, and then I wanted to ask if we should have it on the last page of this packet, or combine them, which makes more sense to me than to have it with the other PDF that people will get with the combined information. But on the table of contents, since it's not really a page, it's just in the back. It's there, and I don't know if it's clear enough in the table of contents the way it is, because if I try and add a page number, because it's Word, and I don't have, one of the titles on that page, which would make a mess of the form itself, I can't really add the page number of the last page, because it's not considered a page. But I typed in the title of it is back there, so I was trying to figure out if that's, to me, it makes sense to put it there, but before I did anything else, I wanted to ask you if that makes sense to them. And then I could keep that sentence and then also add the procedure for blind courtesy copies too.
It makes sense to me where it's placed, and I think it's really nice and convenient to have there. I think it's really cool. I'm so psyched about it.
I'm sure.
Is there any other recommendations on amendments to the packet before we talk about approval and who will maintain it?
I have no further recommendations for revisions.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve this packet as the official welcome packet pending the amendments that we're going to add that additional clause, right, at the beginning of that one sentence?
Right, and then also add.
And then the ACC and the,
Yes.
There's been a motion to approve, there's a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. And so Colleen, I suspect the easiest way to just maintain it is to place it in the same kind of shared network drive with like policies and the other kind of board materials. I'm assuming that you would maintain that way regardless of rotation of the board. There's some continuity in that. In theory, you and the chair at the time of the new member would coordinate on handing that packet to the person.
Yeah, and I was also gonna ask too, would that be, my job to send it out to the new member? Like, I didn't send it to Christina, I wanted to see where we were at with this. So I would send it when we get a new board member, to the new board member.
I'm not opposed to that. I also don't want to put more burden on you than is reasonable, so if you're.
Well, it's fine with me because if I'm housing it on the library, on the drive that has the policies, then it would be, yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah. Plus, since I'm on the interview committee, I would know when someone was starting and that kind of thing. So I think it does make sense. I'm fine with it.
So I update both the Word and the PDF so that you have the Word to.
That'd be great. Yeah, perfect.
So you will email the resource packet to new members.
Mm-hmm. In the packet, other packet that goes with it, it's about like 100 and something pages long, so or maybe 100 pages. I mean, it's very, maybe not quite 100, but it's big. That's why I didn't print it. So I'll let you use your discretion with that.
The other packet, it just has what contains in it, so it's all of, like our policies and all the things, just in one PDF so that you don't have to download for each.
That's awesome. If there's no other discussion on this item, I'll move on to item 2. Item 2, consideration and possible action to finalize the draft of the interlibrary loan policy. Before diving in, Christina wanted to get you to speed on what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. So basically, half of this board is new. Colleen is also new to our draft of this past year. And so we thought it was a good idea to look over all the policies of the library, making sure they're up to date, making the appropriate updates, modifications, whatever thoughts we had there. As city ordinance currently exists, every policy change has to go to council. There's discussion about or change that would give that authority to the library board itself to approve. Because we're in this limbo area, what we're doing is that we're drafting out all of those changes now. And that way, should the council decide, yeah, we do want the LD authority to the board, the work's done, you just have a vote, which currently we move on the board. If council says no, we still want to retain that authority within the council, then that's fine too, it's their discretion. We have all the work drafted up, so we just present kind of one comprehensive, here's everything we want to change at one time. We just have to let their top do that at once versus voting a policy every month. So everything we're doing here is discussing what the policy changes we think should be. Spitballing those ideas, making adjustments as appropriate, and then all these drafts, we're keeping them as drafts and not approvals because we can't ourselves approve them, but we're prepared for whichever direction we need to go. So on the interlibrary loan policy, I sent out the updated version based off of everybody's feedback. Joy did email me separately that she can't be here tonight and mention that there is a small typo inside of the purpose paragraph in the third sentence. I just missed the word library when it comes to Kyle Public Library. So assuming nobody has concerns, I'll add that word back in. But that was the only feedback I had for following those changes. Does anybody else have any discussion or, yeah?
So everyone has an updated version from what Spencer sent out because I found out that we have patrons pay the $2 when they pick up their loan. So under costs and fees, you all should have a new version that I printed, and it says the $2 cost will be paid at the time that the loan is checked out. That part was changed because when we were working at it last time, it said the opposite. It said when the loan is requested, it will be paid. But it actually is not how we do it.
And I'll update my copy as well, that way everything is the same.
Yeah, because I did not send you a Word version of it.
That's perfect.
Okay,
Were there any other changes or just that one?
just that one, yeah.
And I just have a couple of things. So throughout the document, we do mention the public library. But in first page, under borrowing materials, the second line, we refer to it as the library instead of Kyle Public Library. And so to keep it consistent, I guess we could do one of two things. Whenever we use Kyle Public Library first, on the first paragraph under purpose, we could just in parentheses say library and then carry that throughout the document, right, to make it easier. Or to keep it consistent, we're gonna have to say, I think, Kyle Public Library throughout the document, right? Because I think we also have that on the second page, on the first paragraph, a couple of times. Yeah. And then the only other thing, under restricted material, just getting rid of that one space to keep it consistent, with the formatting. Because there's no extra line or space between the title and the paragraph. I know that's not.
Perfect.
It looks
I-
great.
In recording that I'll remove that extra space between restricted material and the paragraph. My personal preference would be to just add Kyle Public every time, because there seems to be more instances of Kyle Public Library applications, library that reverse, just doing it that way. I'll do a quick Control F and just find an instance and update that. Does anybody have any contrary thoughts to that?
Looks great.
Any other thoughts or recommendations to change?
My only edit was this exact same edit that you have.
Okay.
Are we able to have a motion to approve this with the corrections as we have stated them, or do we need to make those corrections?
Let's hold off on approving.
That's right, we can't approve anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if there's no discussion on this, I would entertain a motion to table.
I will table.
Okay, motion, there's been a motion, is there a second? There's a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the next item. Item 3, consideration and possible action to review and propose changes to the collection development policy.
I couldn't remember if I gave it to you or not, Christina, because I didn't print an additional one for everybody else, because I figured you had the one that you were, yeah. Don't think I printed the page that has the edits that I was proposing.
So that is, I'll share.
Let me see if I have another one, but we can keep going.
And so it'd be page 5 is where this would be. replaced.
Okay. I'm not sure I have a. The edits you're proposing document, was that in the agenda packet that you emailed?
No, this was from what we had from last time. I didn't send the policy again because oh yes, I did send the policy again, but I didn't send the amendment as part of the packet. I forgot to include that. Yeah. Let me see if I have another. I could go make another copy if we need it. I'm just trying to see if I have one here because I tend to have way too many.
And
I
so-
have the actual policy.
Right, the part that said, here's what should be added, this part,
Oh, and you're saying that's from last time.
that's from
I
last
don't
time.
have it.
Yeah, this is from last time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sorry. There's
yeah.
something back here.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Second page.
You can have,
Ignore that,
do you have it, Mary, with this part?
With the red, yes.
Do you have, okay, and Christina, actually, you can have, I don't need it, but, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And Nora, I see you have a copy, so you're good too? Perfect.
Okay.
I can print another one too if need be.
Okay, I think I'll just be good with one. I'll be definitely a lot anyway.
Okay.
Let me have a look at it, Jessica.
Yes, I'm good, let's do it.
If you guys are okay with it, I'll start with Joy's notes, since she's out. In the collection element policies, philosophy and scope of the collection section, within responsibilities for children reading rests solely with parents or legal guardians, would it be appropriate to note or refer to the policy about how children's accounts are linked to a parent or guardian? My thought about including this would be that there is one individual whose account is linked to a child, but often more than one parent or guardian that may have an opinion about the book they're checking out. In the end, it is responsibility of that named parent or guardian with a linked account. And so maybe, Colleen, just for my own education, if I have a kid and I give that child a library card, is it both my name and my spouse's name that are tied to that? Is it one spouse, not the other? Is there a limit on that?
It's really, a parent has to, in order for a child, a minor, to get a card, a parent has to be, or a guardian has to be with them to get the card. But it's only at one, we only put the parent present, like a parent, and also when a parent can't get a card for their child unless the child is with them. So it's not required to put, both parents on a child's account. Yeah, it's quite common that not both parents, it's quite common that both parents don't necessarily both have library cards.
Sure.
Can you reread Joy's concern again?
Yes. My thought about including this would be that there is one individual whose account is linked to a child, but often more than one parent or guardian that may have an opinion about the books they are checking out. In the end, it is the responsibility of that named parent or guardian with the linked account. And so I know myself, I'm not entirely clear on the intent there. My thought, reading through the lines, would be, let's say my child checked out a book that I had a personal objection with, but my wife does not. Does one opinion or the other kind of supersede in the context of challenging materials?
I don't think that has anything to do with challenging materials. I think that's a parental issue and doesn't have anything to do with the library at all. That would be my thought, is that it says that the library is not acting in loco parentis. So that's amongst the parents to sort it out between themselves if they want their child to read it or not. It doesn't have anything to do with the library. I think that would be my thought as a librarian.
And I'm not pushing back, I'm just trying to feel out the edges of this discussion. Let's say we have the example of my child checks out a book, and I want to challenge that material. As the policy currently exists, I would be the one responsible for articulating the stance, filling out the forms, talking with the librarian. Is the policy set up to where I can only go through those motions if I'm the person linked to my child's account? Or, okay,
It doesn't matter at all. I could go in and challenge something that I saw your kid reading. Because I'm challenging it to say, I'm running the library at all. So it doesn't matter who your child is or who you are as a parent.
Because you're challenging the book, the source and period.
I wish Joy was here for me to further understand the thing that she's saying. But I mean,
Yeah, I don't quite
you're-
understand what her concern is. Okay, read me which part she's, because maybe if I read it from the,
H.
it's H, okay, H. Responsibility for children's reading rests solely with their parents, and the selection of material shall be trained by the possibility that material may be considered. Okay, so basically what that states is that no one at the circulation desk is deciding what children should check out. So, if the child comes up to the desk with a book, it's not up to anyone, any staff person to decide whether whether the child can check that out. That when someone's in the library, it is the parent's job to decide. That's really what that's referring to. It's not even talking about, it's not referring to who has a card or not.
And the policy in terms of who can challenge materials is silent and does not distinguish between, or doesn't discriminate between who is a card holder, who's tied in an account. It could be anybody, regardless of possession of a city library card.
So, yeah, so the challenging part says, a patron, the way it exists right now, it does not state that, right now, the way the objections to materials in number 9, it says, it doesn't say anything about who can challenge a material. The revised version, I'm asking or proposing that it says a patron is defined as a valid library card holder.
What number is that in the revised version?
It's number 9, and it's right under it's the second paragraph.
Oh, see it.
A patron, we're defining what a patron is, so they have to have a library card with us, so that it isn't that anyone could come in and ask the challenge book who doesn't even have a card. So they have to be a library user in order to challenge it. So I'm sort of wondering if Joy's comment fits in our getting a library card section and not in the collection development section. That's what, as I'm understanding it.
And looking back at the interlibrary loan policy, we use the phrase eligible card holder. Do we want to be consistent with that phrasing instead of patron? We keep it consistent as eligible card holder, or is there a drawback to using that same language between policies?
That's a great question. I prefer patron, so if we did not say patron in interlibrary loan, I think, and this is good work, because this is, I didn't write these policies, and so I think they're all written at different times too, so comparing them side by side, that's an excellent question. I think we should be consistent, and so, I think patron. Wait, I gotta look at. Where,
IL policy.
where does do we
It said
say?
all Carl Public Library card holders shall be eligible in the IL policy. And then we had that thing, we were gonna define the phrase be in good standing, which probably isn't relevant to the challenge. But we said all Kyle Public Library card holders. I don't know if that's more technical and understandable to someone that you're not a patron if you just walk in the door. You have to have a card to challenge. I don't know.
So let's try to sandbox this a little bit. I am a citizen of California. I'm here visiting the city of Kyle for whatever reason. I walk into the library. I have never had a card. I have no intention of ever getting a card. And I find the most egregious thing that we all agree should never be in public hands ever within the city's bookshelf. Should I have the ability to challenge that material? Or do we say that it is better for the citizens of Kyle who this library is primarily serving, being the individuals eligible to challenge materials within their own library?
Say card or person to do it.
Any contrary thoughts to that?
So the form, Appendix H, doesn't say anything about being a patron or being a card holder or anything like that, which is maybe the reason why you're asking the question. And it's page 17. And so this talks about a citizen. And so if it's a citizen, then this other person that you're referring to, right, from California, wherever it is that they moved from. And it's not just a person, it's a citizen, and well, it's not that it's an organization, and they start asking, are you doing this for yourself or as an organization? Now, this was the form that you asked us also to look at the last time, right, and evaluate against the LEA, the form that they have. So, but right now it says citizen. So I mean, to me, if it's a citizen, based on this, it's anyone, whether you're a card holder or not.
So we need to change.
Well, no,
that.
well, my proposal was to change it to patron
Okay.
and card holder. So I missed the proposing to change H. H should be changed with, according, I mean, my recommendation, I mean, and it is quite unusual to have a policy that doesn't apply only to card holders because it's possible for people outside of the community to try to impose standards that aren't the community standard. So I think it's really, I mean, I would advocate that it's really important to name it as patron and not citizen. Yeah, because citizen's too vague. Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm hearing it right, whatever language we put as the individual noun that we use at some point in the future, that is currently sitting in the first section of paragraph 2, whatever that is, we'll use that same term, appendix H for that. Personally, I'm not voting patron, just because I think patron also means that California means it's the word we just used. And if the sense of this board is that, no, the policy should be governed, enforced, exercised by the citizens or the actual people of this community who this library services, then patron may not be that right word in that context. But if we think that really awful material that should never be ever existing should be challenged by anybody who sees it and should have that opportunity, patron would be the right word in that case. I can see an argument either way, but that's also my personal thought, and if you all disagree, then I don't mind being the one being voted.
So I think one of the things that we agreed maybe a couple of meetings ago was that we're going to run into this because we're not reviewing all policies at the same time, right? And so if we look at the public library that has all the policies and procedures, there's patrons, that term is used throughout. Now, I don't know if it's consistent in every single policy, but I think what we agreed to was that we want to create a definitions page. And so if patron is the term that we like, then when we add that to the definition, we get to define what does that mean? Does that mean then it's a, what do we have in the one that we just discussed? Eligible card holder. And we can say it's one or the other, or it's, used as the same, as the same term, so.
Yeah, patron is a library word. It's not, it's a little bit unusual to not use that word in reference to libraries. I mean, I taught kids in school when I was doing school libraries that patron is the word that you are when you're in a library. I mean, it's just vocabulary that goes with the, in the field. So it's not, to me, it's not really something that is debatable. It's just a fact. Yeah.
And if you looked patron up in the dictionary, would it say card holder? Or I'm kind of leaning towards what Mary's saying, that if we are going to use the word patron, we need to be very clear that we do mean a card holder and not just someone who visits the library by including it in that dictionary or glossary. or
And
whatever.
I'm making notes for that. So if we're gonna have a laundry list of, definitions, terms, I think that's gonna be one that we're probably gonna.
Right along with this.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, I would prefer to be consistent with using the word patron through the whole thing, and I totally didn't even tune into the difference in the interlibrary loan.
Yeah, I like patron. I think that, when I think of patron, I think of someone who is accessing and using the library as a resource. However, you cannot do that unless you have a library card. So to me, they go from that, and you can't patron the library unless you can't check books out, you can't really, use the library to its full capacity unless you are a card holder. So that term, it vibes with me. I like it.
The sense I get from the group, unless there's a contrary thought that hasn't been voiced, is that patron is the appropriate word. We just need to define it articulately in a future definition.
That is what
Then the last note from Joy, working that over to the group, is that on appendix H, the actual form, question 7. Do you approve of the material in general, or do you feel that it's inappropriate for a certain age? Should this actually read, do you disapprove of the material in general, or feel it's inappropriate for a certain age?
I had the exact same note, and also wondered if that question is one that is necessary to have. I noticed on the recommended American Library Association recommendation for consideration of materials, they had fewer questions than we have here. And then in looking at a couple other, big library systems ones, they didn't have a question of this type. And I do find the question confusingly worded. Do you approve of the material in general, or feel it is inappropriate for a certain age? I don't know. I'm just not certain of that question. I'm not sure what you're going to get from them answering that question. And if it's necessary at all, but if it is necessary for a reason that I haven't anticipated, I do think it should be, do you disapprove of the material in general?
I can tell you the reason why that question is there. I didn't write this particular thing, but one of the reasons is that some of the things that people propose when they have a problem with the material is that they are objecting to where it's located, whether it be in the young adult section or the adult section, or, and so I think that is what that question is trying to get at, is it that you have totally object to the material altogether, or is there some merit for certain ages? Because that's, and I think the value in having more questions than less is that a lot of times having, I'm not saying we should have 10 or whatever, I don't really have a good opinion, but I think sometimes these challenges have a better outcome when people have an opportunity to voice their concerns in their entirety, as opposed to, and so I think that's the reason to have more questions to try to tease out the concerns, so.
But that seems to be more of the thing, that what they have a problem with is the location. Shouldn't that be maybe then the first question? Because if it's a location issue, then it's not about the material, it's not about the content, and if that's what it is, well then, I don't know, maybe it stops there, or maybe the way that they're going to answer the other questions may make more sense. Right?
I kind of feel a little bit differently in terms of just like the times that I've dealt with this personally, and been on the receiving end of this. I feel like the order of these questions kind of like makes sense to the order in which I would have a discussion with someone. Question number 4, I wouldn't want any further down, because in the same sense you're saying maybe the conversation stops there, like with question number 4, did you examine the material? Like, I don't know, that's like a really important question to have, I think, first, I guess. While this question, I feel is maybe only particular to like certain situations. But I see what you're saying, that maybe it is an important question, but for me, I think some of the other questions that come before it are even more important than this one.
And I don't know necessarily that it's more important, I think it's just hearing Colleen that if that's the reason why people object, is not to get rid of the material, but the location of it. Is that something that should be asked first, not because it's more important, but if that's gonna assist? I mean, it's just a thought.
Mhm.
Well, let's do this. Let's think this over. I know there's a lot more to talk on this policy before we run out of time, just, I know you're at 8 o'clock hard cutoff. So I think we're all agreeing that it should be disapproved.
Mhm.
And we continue to think about what else modification would be appropriate next month.
Can I just put one other thing out there quick? Is that a policy that I was more familiar with than this one from where I was before had a question like, do you have an alternative that you would recommend? So that gives them the opportunity to make a recommendation, because like where it says what individuals might find this valuable, and then if this book is unacceptable to that person, maybe another book would be a good substitute or appropriate substitute. That was kind of a nice way to make the person feel heard, I thought.
I'm good with that, I'm fine with adding that to the citizen's request.
Can you repeat the question again?
Maybe it could go under, like, is there anything good about this material? What individuals or groups might find it valuable? If we decide to keep that question in there, then it could follow up with, if not, can you recommend, or do you have a recommendation for an alternative that could reach the same audience or something like that? It might appeal to a similar audience, or I don't know, something like that. Sorry, that was the last thing I wanted to say about the questions.
So Spencer, in our next meeting, we're gonna return and discuss more proposed revisions.
And are we still comfortable continuing on with the discussion here? I just don't want that one question to consume the entire thing.
I'm okay with making a motion to table this until our next meeting.
Is it also possible, before I entertain that motion, to get the proposed changes calling inside of the Word documents, so we can put in some suggested notes and things for discussion?
Like the way I just
Yes.
added that? Yeah, maybe just send you guys that as an email. Sure.
And again, before I entertain the motion, Jessica, what do we put on the table just for discussion? I don't have an answer. I'm also grappling with this, but want to put it out there if you guys think about next month. On item 8, the proposed changes, it talks about once validated by the process, materials shall not be eligible for further reevaluation as each challenge item has been through for first review. I like the idea of not entertaining the same thing over and over and over again.
Mhm.
But I also know that one of the reasons for a legitimate reconsideration would be related to information that is dated, inaccurate, or items found to be poorly written. And so I can think about things such as, let's say, scientists discover that the Earth is not a sphere, it's actually a triangle tomorrow. There could be a reason to today deny a request for reconsideration of anything that says the Earth is not a sphere. But tomorrow, we need to take all those items off the shelf because scientific knowledge has improved or changed. by saying it should never be reconsidered, that boxes you in. But I also don't know how to thread that needle so we're not having the same reconsideration session every week over something that shouldn't be reconsidered.
So using based on good cause, but then what is good cause?
How do we define that? How do we
Well,
define
let
that?
me say good
But-
cause as it relates to, and then going back to it's one of those areas.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know, I've not squared in my mind where I'm happy with it. I just don't know that saying never reconsider is the right answer. But it almost comes down to good judgment, which you can't legislate in judgment.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it too is, I mean, there is a very rigorous process that the library professionals do to weed books, especially in nonfiction when materials don't, you know, so I don't know, I don't know how, yeah.
And it could be a non-issue, that
Right.
there's a rigorous process already to find those examples and weed them out. Then my suggestion isn't really relevant because there's a different process to handle that concern.
Yes, that's what, probably, yeah. Yeah, that particular sentence, a legal counsel from the American Library Association suggested that. So that's why I added it, so, just because of the amount of time and resources that could be expended on one particular material. That was the thought behind it.
And I'm happy to defer to experts.
Yeah.
Jessica, you made a motion to table this policy until next month. Is there a second? Hearing a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is item 4, library director's report.
Okay. So, goodness, always happens to me, I get my documents all mixed up. So, I have, some budget documents for you guys that I'm gonna share with you. That, here, I'll just let you, they're sort of crisscross, I'll let you pass them around so I don't, can keep talking. So, there's my report. Okay, so what is getting passed around right now is there's two different things. There's, one is the budget from last year. And that is pretty much gonna stay the same, except for the things that I propose being added. And so the page with the boxes, this is what I'm asking for 23, 24. And so, one of the things that, I am working with the Friends on is, we're in conversation about possibly buying a bookmobile for the library. And, so I've been doing the research and determining what needs to happen in order to make that a reality. And, one of the things that I am budgeting for is an outreach librarian. And then another thing that I'm working on with Marco, our technology director, is getting updated security cameras for the library. And that has actually been in the budget in the facilities department multiple times, and it keeps getting cut. And so I decided to put it in my budget and hopefully ask for it not to be cut because we need updated cameras. And then the maintenance and gas for the bookmobile would just be an annual ongoing thing. And I've been talking to other library directors in the area who have bookmobiles, and that was, some of the, amounts that they were allocating each year for, the maintenance and gas for a bookmobile. And then I added, we have needed, legal services that we haven't ever before, just for reviewing certain documents and stuff. And, I just needed to have some, money in the budget, because anytime I send a document to our city attorney, it comes out of the library, budget. And, so I have never had that in the budget, and so I needed to get that in the budget. So that's the budget, and the way that this is gonna work, we have a budget workshop on May 13th, where we bring it to the city council. If any of you have any feedback or concerns or anything, you can bring it to our next meeting, and then we can talk about it in our next meeting. And then there is a second budget workshop in July, that if you had any suggestions or recommendations, that I can bring to them then, because it won't be decided or locked in until August.
So is your ask of us, like, based on what you're asking for? Is it the amount?
No,
Is it the
it's just for
approach?
you all to be in the loop. There really isn't anything in particular. It's just part of the scope of your work being on the board, is just that you are aware of the budget process, and that you are aware of what the library budget is, and kind of just being consultant, a consulting body, really. So that's really basically it. I mean, if there was anything that was super concerning, or, you wanted to, advocate for or question or whatever, that would really just be something that you could share with me then.
Is there any advocacy work, meetings, or communication that we can do as a library board to support these items? In terms of their approval, or is that?
That's a great question. It could be something that you would want to advocate for. I mean, probably not until, this is my first year in the budget cycle within the city, so I don't know what it all plays out like. So I would say maybe hold off on anything until our next meeting. I'll have a little bit more information. Then in terms of advocacy, I love that idea. Yeah, maybe next meeting you can just let me know any input or feedback. I mean, it doesn't.
I would support that too, especially because I could be wrong, but I think last year, y'all didn't ask for hardly anything, if I remember correctly. And so, because, the whole budget process goes through the public meetings, right? And certainly it was very obvious in comparison to other divisions and what they asked for. And so that I would say that since what you're asking for is an 18% increase of your current budget, someone could look at that number and it's scary, right? But if the advocacy part could come in from, well, last year there wasn't any, what were the previous years, and that could go towards, well, in, why you need what you need.
Yeah, I like that. So, for the report, here's the statistics for the month that I wanted to share for the month. We have a Food for Fines partnership going on with the Hayes County Food Bank. That's going on from April 1st to May 15th. And the way that works is that every food item that is brought in forgives $2 worth of fines on the patron's account. And we are also accepting donations, even if you don't have fines. And then we're banking that. And at the end, we will wipe as many people's accounts clear as possible, randomly and anonymously. So, yeah. And then our seed swap was a big success on the 25th. Oh, did you have a question about that?
Thank you. So what is the purpose behind the anonymous versus informing those that have fines that their fines have been
Well, it's that, it would be like that they're not gonna find out that Spencer is the one that donated the money.
But they're aware that there's fines for it.
Exactly, yeah, because we don't want people to feel as though some person in particular took pity or had a charity towards, we want it to be, because we're just taking them, and the people who donate the food are helping the food bank, and they're helping another patron, but they don't know who that patron is. That's what I mean anonymously. It's not connected to a person or a name. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. And so the seed swap was a great success. We had a good turnout, and I think it's gonna even evolve into a bigger event for Earth Day, where the Seed Library has the ribbon cutting. We had a great couple of great spring break events with great turnout. I will say that the Food for Fines thing actually got quite a bit of press, which was great, and I'm happy about that. And I'm working with the communications department to make sure that they get posting about our stuff, and so that was neat. We had Fox News, local Fox News came and interviewed me about it, and then KT interviewed me about it as well, so it was good press. And we've had a lot of people, actually more people bring food in without fines than, yeah, so we've been getting quite a bit. Yeah, so that's really nice. We have a teen job fair coming up on April 29th. A lot of great momentum for that. A bunch of different employers are coming. Happy about that. And we're also going to have a table for teen volunteers to volunteer in the library this summer. So that'll be one volunteer opportunity. All the others are paid jobs that.
And with that job fair for teens, is there any kind of resume workshops or assistance?
Yeah, so we have that available on our, we have a bunch of resources on our website, and Jen has, who is our teen services coordinator, she has offered that to teens as well. Yeah, so yeah, I know. She's great. Our book sale is May 6th. It's going to benefit the Friends. And we are collecting donations for the book sale just on Earth Day. We collect donations all the time, but we didn't want to have a big call for donations just in general, because that gets a little overwhelming. So on Earth Day, we're going to have a designated place where people can just come and put them, and we won't have to worry about doing it all week long or, get inundated. Let's see, Michael, Kara, and I will be attending the Texas Library Association Conference in Austin this coming week, which we're all excited about. It's great learning opportunities and networking. It's fabulous. We're excited about that. And then National Library Week, the 23rd to the 29th. I think I mentioned you before, we're having a professional development day. We're doing our CPR AED training in the morning. We're having a luncheon provided by the Friends group in celebration of the award that we won. And we are having a guest speaker in the afternoon, Felicia Benton Wilson, and she is an amazing communication marketing strategist from Dallas. And I heard her speak at the Servant Leadership Conference, and she was very inspiring, and really, I think could be really empowering for our staff, because a lot of what she talked about was, really focusing on how to make the community feel welcome, in talking about language and how you can make your brand and make sure that you're using language that makes people feel included, and she's really great. And I'm looking forward to having her. And our summer reading programming and spring outreach is underway. We have the theme this year is Crack the Case, mystery theme. And it is for all ages, not just for kids. We have prizes and incentives for people of all ages. And that is beginning, we already have all our outreach to the schools in the area sort of planned for the month of May. And so that's underway. It runs basically from June and July. Lots of great programming that we have, a lot of good performers coming in and stuff. Let's see, and then our Overdrive app is going away at the end of April, and everything is switching to Libby. And so that's just something that we're making sure people are educated about and aware of. There is not that much that people have to do except download the app if they don't have it, because all of their resources will automatically migrate to Libby. But you have to have the Libby app. So that's a digital audio ebooks. I think that is about it. Oh, we had our first fire drill today. It's very successful. We evacuated the building in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And the emergency management coordinator was here, and our facility manager was here, and it went well. It was an announced one, so all the staff knew about it, but we're gonna have them 3 times a year. And I worked with the emergency management director to make sure all our policies, safety policies were up to date. And so we did well. No patrons got too freaked out or scared. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, so that's it. Any questions?
What is Felicia's name again?
Felicia Benton, Benton, Wilson. Yep, and I could be wrong. She has 2 last names. I think Benton comes first, Wilson second.
Okay.
It could be the other way around.
I did it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If there's no other discussion on this item, moving on to item 5, Friends of the Tile Reflector Report. Susan?
Hi, sorry I was late, I was meeting the candidates that are here to apply for the interview for the city manager position, so I got a little carried away. I am looking forward to the summer reading program. I was actually thinking about ordering a hat where, like Sherlock Holmes, maybe. I don't know, just so I can pose in the library. So mostly just happy news, or all just happy news. Our interim manager at the thrift store, Jody, he was an existing employee and he's now the interim manager, is doing a really wonderful job. We're really happy with him. The store is looking good. The sales are still up as they've been on that trajectory. He's had a lot of good ideas. We met with him and heard a lot of his ideas. But, and he hired some new staff also, and things are just really going well. So that's all they really asked me to share right now. So things are really going well, and we're happy, and we're glad we have this wonderful partnership.
And we actually are doing more with advertising library events in the thrift store. And we're talking about putting maybe a bulletin board or something, because I think sometimes we're both kind of tucked over in little pockets, and sometimes people don't connect the two, so.
Yeah, he had been asking, and I sometimes in the past, but I didn't remember doing it on a regular basis, had taken newsletters over there, because he had asked for them, but yeah, being one of, he's actually asked for some.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He's definitely got the mindset. His heart is in what the mission is, so.
Awesome.
Is it all fixed? Are all the repairs done?
Yes, the repairs are done. Yes, we're very happy that it all worked out. Very happy that no one was injured.
It didn't take long though.
No, once we got the insurance, this is the insurance that split everything out, but once that was in place, then yeah, the repairs done. Great.
All right, so that brings us us down to the end of our agenda with announcements, informational items for the next meeting. If there is no other discussion, our next meeting will be held on Thursday, May 11th. I'm tracking that our to-do items are to finish collection development policy, budget discussion as well will be on that agenda. And anything else that you guys send over to me to include. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I have one question. The collection development policy is really dense. Do we feel like we should break it down over 2 months, or do you think, because I think it'd be nice to, this is the one that I feel like needs to be sort of changed or locked in sooner rather than later. So it would make me feel good to know that we were either gonna try to wrap it up next time or know that in June we were gonna have it wrapped up. So, because it's dense.
And I know that we didn't have a discussion over everything on that policy.
Right.
My fear would be that if we said getting it done in May, it's a lot to get to discuss in that meeting, and there still is tightening up.
Right.
But I also recognize that getting it done sooner than later is probably best.
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible that we get a copy of the Word document? What we'll do is that I'll ask the group to type up your recommended changes. And that way we can share that as part of that packet dissemination prior to the meeting
In May.
in May.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we all, as part of the agenda, have everybody else's notes on it. And that might help the discussion flow smoother in May. Hopefully have a really final list. We're going to take that meeting, and we'll keep every other item on the agenda bare bones just to maximize the time for business.
Yes. And I like that myself, but the one thing I also wanted to just make sure that we made known for Christina, since she's new, is that the parts of the policy that aren't really, the appendices are kind of standard. All the ones from the American Library Association, except Appendix H. All A through G really, I don't feel like need the editing. This part is like literally, they're not mine to edit. They're copyright of.
We cannot change the Constitution.
Yeah. These are not for us to edit. So it looks kind of thick and long, but it's really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages really that were, or 6. But it's dense. Yes, right. So I just wanted to make sure as we talk about it, that if I send the multiple pages, because this part is probably like, I don't know, 20 pages, that you're not actually having to refine 20 pages. It's really only the first 5 or 6, 5. 1, 5. Okay, 5. And then the Appendix H. Yeah, I can absolutely send the Word document. And then,
I'll ask the group to send me, not each other, their versions of markups, and that way we'll have it all together as the agenda packet for.
and I just actually happened to look and notice that our next meeting is the 11th. The 13th is the date of the first workshop meeting for the budget. So it actually is in time, so that if you had any suggestions or modifications or concerns or anything, it will be before the first workshop meeting. So, yeah.
And we'll probably put the budget first, get that out of the way quickly.
I think it sounds great.
So, with that out of the way, if there's no other discussion, is there a motion to adjourn? Mary, made a motion. Is there a second? Second for Christina. All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:17. Thank you, Morgan, for taking notes.
Thank you, Morgan.
I never did anything about the phone. Okay.